Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is LeBender, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a Minecraft themed banner for 100% free in paint.net. Now, this banner is actually really easy to make, and you can make it in around 30 minutes. Now, I also made another variant of this banner with the graffiti text that I showcased in another video. And if you want to go check out that video, I left a link down in the description box below, so you can go check it out. Anyways, let's get right into the tutorial. Alright, so what you guys want to go ahead and do to start off is you want to go ahead and click the new button in the top left hand corner of the screen. Now once you have that open, you want to go ahead and change the resolution to 3840 by 2160 to make a 4K resolution, and you want to make sure that the maintain aspect ratio box is checked off. Alright, so next what you guys want to go ahead and do is you want to click the open button, and then you want to open up 4 or so shader wallpapers that are preferably in 4K. I mean 1080p will work fine too. And then what you guys want to also go ahead and do is open up this YouTube banner template that'll also be down in the description box below, and this will come in handy useful on later. Alright, so now that you have your shader wallpapers opened up, you want to go ahead and open up that YouTube banner template, and then what you want to go ahead and do is go back to your 4K canvas and then press the create layer button to create a new layer. Then go back to it, use your rectangle select tool and highlight the whole thing. Then go ahead and press copy, then go back to your original thing, and then go ahead and paste the banner template onto there. And then you can go up and scale the banner template up to the right size. And this doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but just try and make it as accurate as possible. Now what you want to go ahead and do is you want to click on the layer you just made, then go ahead and click on layer properties and change the opacity down to about halfway. This will make the layer a bit see-through, and this will come in handy later on. Now what you want to go ahead and do is create a layer in between those two layers, then go ahead to one of your shader backgrounds, and then use your rectangle select tool to select the whole thing right over here. And yeah, you just want to go ahead and select the whole thing, and then you want to go ahead and click copy. Oh, I messed it up. You want to go ahead and click copy, and then what you want to go ahead and do is go back to your original thing and then paste it in between the layer you just made. Now what you want to go ahead and do is zoom out and sort of just make sure it's centered, and then take your rectangle select tool and make a pretty big selection, and then take the little white selection adjustment tool, I'm not sure what it's called, and then you want to sort of tilt it around 45 degrees so that it will make a line in between the layer, in between the background, so it'll be cut off. You know, this kind of doesn't make sense right now, but it'll make sense later in the final project. Now you have all that selected, you want to go ahead and click delete, and it doesn't have to be exactly like this, you just make it whatever way you want. Then what you want to go ahead and do is go down to drop shadow and make sure you're on the layer with the background you just made. Then you want to turn your whitening radius all the way up and your blur radius all the way down, and then you want to go ahead and change the color to white. And then after you have all that, you just want to make sure it's good, then click OK. And I know you can't really see the white line right now, but what we're going to go ahead and do is change that. So you want to go ahead and change your background color to black or any color that's not necessarily white. Then boom, you can see the white line that we've made, and you can see that we can do this for all the other individual shader pictures that we have. So just go ahead and repeat this process 4 times over, but every time you do it with a different picture, you want to make sure that it's on a different layer. You see right here, you want to make sure that the layer is 1 down. Then you want to repeat the same thing where you scale it up all the way. And see, this one wasn't exactly 4K, so it didn't fit perfectly like the last one. So I had to do sort of like some special cropping and stuff just to make it work. And so once I finally did make it work, what I did was the same thing with the rectangle, and then I took the little white select tool, then tilted it around 45 degrees or so. I'm not sure, I'm not a mathematician. And so what you go ahead and do is repeat the same thing, delete that, and then you have the whole thing. Then you want to go ahead and delete it, and then you can go under effects and do repeat drop shadow to do that again. Now you just want to repeat that process with the last 2, and then you'll get the final project. Now that you've repeated that process 4 times over, you can go ahead to your layers and merge them all down into one. So what I'm going to go ahead and press here is the merge layer down button, so that all of the individual pictures are merged into one picture, just to make things a bit less complicated, so we can have all the pictures in one layer. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to step 2, as I have written on the thing, and I'm not sure why I did that. So yeah, as we move on to step 2 is the text. So what we want to go ahead and do is zoom in just a bit and go over to our layers and press the create new layer button, and this new layer will be our text layer that we'll put all of our text on. So what I'm going to go ahead and do next is press the little T button on our toolbar to create some text, and then I'm going to type out my name, which is LeBender, and you can see right now it's really small. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is change the font to my favorite font, which is Franchise. So I'm just going to keep on scrolling down until I find it. You can really use any font that you want. I just thought that Franchise was a good font, and it was the same font I used. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is change the font size by clicking that button, and now you can start to see that it's a bit bigger right now. And then I bet you guys are wondering, how do I get the cool colors? Well, I'm about to get to that. So first what you want to go ahead and do is change the color of the text to white and put it about right in the middle. Just as in the middle as you can get it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just as long as you think it's in the middle, then yeah, sure, it's in the middle. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is rename this layer to text layer just to make things more simple. And yeah, so I'm just going to keep on moving it until I find the center. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see what the final product will look like. And yeah, so that looks like it's about centered. Now what I'm going to do is select two colors that I want to use to make a gradient. And a gradient is a fading in between two colors. You can see how it fades in between the yellow and the red. Those are the two colors I selected in my color palette. You can select green and blue, purple and pink, whatever colors you really want. Just make sure it's unique and the way you want it to be. Now that you have your gradient colors, you can see that it's looking a bit better, but it sure doesn't look as good as we can get it. So then what we want to do next is go ahead and go to our layers and press the duplicate layer button, and this will create an exact duplicate of the previous layer of LeBender. Now I bet you're wondering why we're doing this, but it'll all make sense later. So what I'm going to try and do is select this whole thing using the control click function so I can select all the different parts, because it'll do that at first, but if you just press control and click at the same time, then it'll be fine. Now what I want to go ahead and do is select a dark color. This can be black or a darker shade of your main color. Since my main color is around red, I'm going to choose a darker shade of red. So I'm going to color that individual layer red, and I bet you're wondering why I have it set like this. The main reason I have it set like this is so I can create a quote-unquote shadow for the individual layer. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is move this layer. You want to make sure it's below the gradient layer just to make sort of a shadow. Now you can see that the text is looking a bit more 3D and it pops a bit more. And that was the whole individual feel we're going for. Then I just merged the two layers down using the same thing I used to merge all the background layers down, using just the merge layer down button on our layer select thing. Now I'm going to go to object, then go to drop shadow, then make sort of a black outline at first just to make it pop a bit more. Then what I'm going to go ahead and do is change my whitening radius up and my blur radius all the way down. And I think that line's maybe a bit too thick, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust it so that it will be the right thing. Now it's going to go ahead and render that line. And I think that looks good, but I think it'll do a bit better with a white line on the outside. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is go back to drop shadow, and then I'm going to go ahead and make the whole thing again, but I'm just going to make it white this time. Maybe I'm going to adjust the whitening radius because I think that might be a bit too thick. And if you guys are wondering how I got this plugin, the plugin will be down in the description box below with some instructions on how to use it. And if you just play around with it, you'll get the feel of it eventually. Now for the last drop shadow, I'm actually going to add a legit shadow and not an outline. So I'm going to go to object and drop shadow and change that to black, and then change my offset X and offset Y. You want to make sure that your blur radius is up some so that it will create sort of a shadow effect. Now you can see that if we move our template down a little bit, you can see that our colors become a bit brighter, and this is what it will look like in the end. However, we are still going to need this template for just a little bit longer, but we're not going to need it for much longer. So go ahead and move it all the way up to the top and make another layer, and this is where we'll put our Viginette or Vignette, or you know what, I don't know how to pronounce it, some sort of French word. And you can go ahead and open one from your files, or since you're like me and you don't have time for that, you can just search it up on the internet. So that's what I went to go ahead and do, and just, I don't know how to pronounce it, but there's Google pronunciation if you want to learn how to pronounce it. And boom, here's one that I think will work nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and do copy image, then go back to our original thing. And then in our new layer we just created, we're going to go ahead and paste that. And then you sort of want to resize that so that it fits the part where all of our text will be. You can sort of see that faint rectangle around there. I'm just going to turn up the opacity. Okay, I sort of failed. I'm going to turn up the opacity so I can see it a bit better. Then we're going to go ahead and, okay, I messed that up. You got to go to the layer with your actual Viginette, and then, or vignette, or whatever, and then just sort of resize it so that it fits within that sort of rectangle. And it doesn't have to be perfect, so what I did is I went ahead and zoomed out. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is move it around, and then I'm going to resize it by stretching it out. Now I got to sort of stretch it out to the right a little bit, and you can see like I need to zoom out a whole heck of a lot. Normally your Viginette shouldn't do this, but since mine was weird, I sort of did it. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is take my rectangle, or my selection tool, that little blue thing, I'm not sure what it's called, you know, right next to the white thing that I didn't know what it was called, and sort of just adjust it out until it reaches the proper size. Now we can, okay, we zoomed in a bit much there. Now you can see that our Viginette is nice and zoomed out, or vignette, you know, I don't know. And then boom, now we can remove our template because we're not going to need it anymore, because we have the Viginette to tell us where to put everything. Now for a cool text effect, take your elliptical selection tool right next to your magnifying glass and sort of create sort of this elliptical shape right over your text layer so that it sort of looks like this. And then what you want to go ahead and do is go to your adjustments panel right over there at the top, and then go to brightness and contrast. And then what you want to go ahead and do is turn the brightness up a little bit so that it sort of looks like a glare almost. Now, oh, sorry, I did it on the wrong layer. Now you want to make sure that you're on your text layer, and then do the same thing with your brightness and contrast. So go ahead to brightness and contrast right there, and go ahead and turn your brightness up a little bit so you can see that it creates this sort of cool glare effect. Now if we take our rectangle select tool and click off, you can see we have this sort of cool glare effect, and I think it looks pretty neat. Now for a little something extra you can go ahead and do is you can go ahead and press your new layer button and make sure this is below, make sure it's below your text layer, and go ahead and press the T button on your tool panel right over there to create some new text. And then I'm going to go ahead and select a different font size, so maybe a bit smaller, like about that size. I can't really read it right now. And then what you want to go ahead and do is you want to go ahead and press your T button again, and then you want to type out Minecraft and more, or whatever your channel's about. Say your channel slogan. Let's say your channel slogan is, I don't know, keep calm and carry on. That's like the most generic thing I can think of. You might want to type that, but since I do Minecraft and other things on my channel, I'm going to type out Minecraft and more. And you can see right now we're going to put that under our current text layer, and then we're going to go ahead to properties and change this to text layer 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go to object and make a shadow for this using the same technique as earlier. And you can see with the previous shadow it's a bit too thick, so I'm going to go ahead and change my winding radius down a little bit. And now you can see that we have a light shadow that looks pretty good. Now what you want to go ahead and do is go over to this website called Nova Skins, and then type in your Minecraft username, and then once you find it you want to go ahead and click it, and then click load. I'll leave a link to this website down in the description box below. And then after you have it loaded, you want to go over to the little tab that says pose. Now you're over at that tab, you want to keep on clicking the tab that says random pose until you find a pose that you think might work in your Minecraft banner. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is keep on selecting random pose, and hey, I think this one looks pretty good. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is find a position that I think I like by using my mouse to move it around. And I think this position is alright. So maybe I might want to make myself hold something like a golden apple or a diamond sword. And I can do that using the hold left and hold right tabs. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is click one of those tabs. And what I think I'm going to go ahead and do is click the hold left tab. And then I'm going to make myself holding something. And maybe, I'm not sure what I want to hold. Maybe, I don't know, a redstone or a diamond sword or a golden apple. It really doesn't matter. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is make myself holding a redstone dust. And then I can go ahead and make myself in different positions. And then once we have the position and item that we like in our corresponding hand, you can go ahead and click on save and right click the image and click save image as, then save it to your computer. And you can just name it 3D Skin 2 or Skin whatever, or your name, and then boom, it'll go ahead and download. And then what you can go ahead and do is you can start making your other one. So go ahead and click X and then get started on the other one by keep on selecting random pose until you find another pose that you like. And I think that a good strategy to use is on one side you'll have one item and on the other side you'll have another thing. Since I do a lot of redstone on my channel, I'll put redstone on one side, and since I do some PvP stuff like Sky Wars and Super Smash Mobs, I think I'm going to have a diamond sword just for fun. And so I think this pose is, actually no, I think this pose is alright. So what I'm going to, okay, I guess not. I think that this pose is alright, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is position it so I think it looks good, and then boom. So I think that position and that pose looks really good. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is do my hold left tool to make myself holding a diamond sword in my left hand, and then I'll just keep on repositioning it over and over again. And I think that looks good, so I might want to make myself holding another one in my right hand like that, and I think that looks really cool. So I'm just going to keep on moving it around, and yeah, you can go ahead and mess with those little sliders if you want like really precise measurements. And then I'm going to go ahead up to save again and repeat the same process where I do right click, save image as, and then blah 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 blah, name it. And so I'm just going to name this 3D Skin number 2, or Skin, or LeBender Skin, or you can name it whatever the heck you want, because it really doesn't matter. You just want to make sure that you name it something that you'll remember, because you're going to go ahead to paint.net and then you're going to go ahead and paste those in your image. Now that you're back in the paint.net window, what you want to go ahead and do is create a new layer, and then you can rename this to Skin Layer. Then I'm going to go ahead and press OK. Then you want to go back to your Open tab up at the top left hand corner of the screen and go ahead and open up those skin images. So go ahead and press open. Come on, any second now. Okay, I'm narrating over this in the actual editings. Okay, here we go. Here we are. So go ahead and open up your two skin layers or skin pictures into the actual paint.net. Then you can go ahead and copy and paste them into your skin layer. So take your little blue select tool, and you remember the thing I didn't know what it was called, and just sort of move it around until you think it's good. And you can go ahead and resize it up to the proper size, and I think that's a little too small, so maybe a bit bigger and maybe a bit more to the right or to the left, or I think that's about good. So I'm going to go ahead and click off my rectangle select tool, then go to the other one and go ahead and copy that one and go back to the main image, and then I'm going to go ahead and paste that around. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is flip the image around. So what you're going to go ahead and do is you're actually going to go ahead and press the little dot. Okay, so I failed this first time, and I failed the next time again because I tried to do the same thing. What you're going to go ahead and do is press the little dot, then flip it over like you would like back in first grade or however you did it. And then boom, what you can go ahead and do is resize that one, maybe turn it at an angle a bit. I think that, okay, maybe that way or the other way. It doesn't really matter. Just make it however you think it looks good. So whenever it looks pretty hand-dandy doobledob, you can go ahead and take a rectangle select tool and maybe move it around a bit more. And I think about that is good. So maybe a bit more upwards, and I think that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and click off with my little rectangle select tool. And yeah, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is go to my effects tab, go ahead and do repeat drop shadow to make a sort of shadow for the little guys that I just pasted on there. And so yeah, guys, this is pretty much everything done. So this is what your finished banner will look like if you have followed all the steps correctly. So anyways, if you guys like this sort of video, then please be sure to drop a like on this video. And yeah, every like helps, and it keeps me motivated to keep on making more videos like this. And yeah, if you really love the video, then make sure to subscribe. And my name is LeBender, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.